King Farouk was the 10th ruler of Egypt from the Muhammad Ali Dynasty and the penultimate king of Egypt and the Sudan, succeeding his father, Fuad I, in 1936. His full title was His Majesty Farouk I, by the grace of God, King of Egypt and the Sudan, Sovereign of Nubia, of Kordofan and of Darfur. He was overthrown in the 1952 military coup d'etat and forced to abdicate in favor of his infant son Ahmed Fuad, who succeeded him as Fuad II. He died in exile in Italy. His sister Princess Fawzia Fuad was the first wife and queen consort of the Shah of Iran Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Early life and education. King Farouk was born His Sultanate Highness Prince Farouk bin Fuad at Abdin Palace, Cairo, the eldest child of Sultan Fuad I of Egypt and Sudan, and his second wife Majesty Farouk I on the 11th of February 1920. King Farouk of Egypt was of 10/16 Circassian, 3/16 Turkish, 2/16 French and 1/16 Albanian descent. In addition to his sisters, Fawzia, Fiza and Fadia, he had two half-siblings from his father's previous marriage to Princess Shwikakana Effendi. Before his father's death, he was educated at the Royal Military Academy, Woolwich, England. Reign. Upon his coronation, the 16-year-old King Farouk made a public radio address to the nation, the first time a sovereign of Egypt had ever spoken directly to his people in such a way. Farouk was enamored of the glamorous royal lifestyle. Although he already had thousands of acres of land, dozens of palaces and hundreds of cars, the youthful king often traveled to Europe for grand shopping sprees, earning the ire of many of his subjects. It is said that he ate 600 oysters a week. His personal vehicle was a red 1947 Bentley Mark VI, with coachwork by Figoni A. Fallaci. He dictated that, other than the military jeeps which made up the rest of his entourage, no other cars were to be painted red. In 1951, he bought the pear-shaped 94-carat Star of the East diamond and a fancy-colored oval-cut diamond from jeweler Harry Winston. He was most popular in his early years and the nobility largely celebrated him. For example, during the accession of the young King Farouk, the Abbasi family had solicited palace authorities to permit the royal train to stop briefly in the village so that the king could partake of refreshments offered in a large, magnificently ornamented tent the family had erected in the train station. The ironies of history also meant that the Abbasi family's own Waji Abbasi was in the Free Offices movement that removed the king in 1952, later becoming governor of 6 governorates in post-Farouk Egypt. Farouk's succession initially was encouraging for the populace and nobility, due to his youth and Egyptian roots through his mother Majesty Farouk I. However, the situation was not the same with some Egyptian politicians and elected government officials with whom Farouk quarreled frequently, despite their loyalty in principle to his throne. During the hardships of the Second World War, criticism was leveled at Farouk for his lavish lifestyle. His decision not to put out the lights at his palace in Alexandria when the city was blacked out because of German and Italian bombing was deemed particularly offensive by Egyptian people. Owing to the continuing British occupation of Egypt, many Egyptians, Farouk included, were positively disposed towards Germany and Italy, and despite the presence of British troops, Egypt remained officially neutral until the final year of the war. Consequently, Farouk's Italian servants were not interned, and there is an unconfirmed story that Farouk told British Ambassador Sir Miles Lampson, I'll get rid of my Italians when you get rid of yours. In addition, Farouk was known for harboring certain Axis sympathies and even sending a note to Adolf Hitler saying that an invasion would be welcome. Following a ministerial crisis in February 1942, the British government, through its ambassador in Egypt, Sir Miles Lampson, pressed Farouk to have a WAFD coalition government replace Hussein Siri Pasha's government. On the night of the 4th of February 1942, British troops and tanks surrounded Abdin Palace in Cairo and Lampson presented Farouk with an ultimatum. Farouk capitulated and Naras formed a government shortly thereafter. However, the humiliation meted out to Farouk and the actions of the WAFD in cooperating with the British and taking power lost support for both the British and the WAFD among both civilians and, more importantly, the military. Farouk declared war on the Axis powers only under heavy British pressure in 1945, long after the fighting in Egypt's western desert had ceased. On the 17th of October 1951, the Egyptian government got parliamentary approval to cancel the 1936 Anglo-Egyptian Treaty. As a result, the British forces in Suez Canal were considered occupation forces and King Farouk was declared as King of Egypt and Sudan. This title was not recognized by many countries, and Egypt entered diplomatic debates as well as internal political unrest. Farouk is also reported as having said, "The whole world is in revolt. Soon there will be only 5 kings left: the King of England, the King of Spades, the King of Clubs, the King of Hearts, and the King of Diamonds." Overthrow. Farouk was widely condemned for his corrupt and ineffectual governance, the continued British occupation, and the Egyptian army's failure in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War to prevent the creation of the State of Israel. Public discontent against Farouk rose to new levels. Finally, on the 23rd of July 1952, the Free Officers led by Muhammad Naguib and Gamal Abdel Nasser staged a military coup that launched the Egyptian Revolution of 1952. Farouk was forced to abdicate, and went into exile in Monaco and Italy, where he lived for the rest of his life. Immediately following his abdication, Farouk's baby son, Ahmed Fuad, was proclaimed King Fuad II. But for all intents and purposes, Egypt was now governed by Naguib Nasser and the Free Officers. On the 18th of June 1953, the revolutionary government formally abolished the monarchy, ending 150 years of the Muhammad Ali Dynasty's rule, and Egypt was declared a republic. The Egyptian government quickly moved to auction off the king's vast collection of trinkets and treasures, including his 7-piece bedroom suite that was inspired by Napoleon and Josephine's suite at the Château de Malmaison. Among the more famous of his possessions was one of the rare 1933 double eagle coins, though the coin disappeared before it could be returned to the United States. The 94-carat Star of the East diamond and another diamond bought from Harry Winston had not been paid for by the time of the king's overthrow in 1952. 3 years later, an Egyptian government legal board entrusted with the disposal of the former royal assets ruled in Winston's favor. Nevertheless, several years of litigation were needed before Winston was able to reclaim the Star of the East from a safe deposit box in Switzerland. Exile and Death. Farouk fled Egypt in great haste, and his abandoned possessions, including a huge collection of pornography, became objects of curiosity and ridicule. On his exile from Egypt, Farouk settled first in Monaco, and later in Rome, Italy. On the 29th of April 1958, the United Arab Republic, a federation of Egypt and Syria, issued rulings revoking his citizenship. He was granted Monegasque citizenship in 1959 by his close friend Prince Rainier III. Farouk was thin early in his reign but later gained weight, weighing nearly 136 kilograms. An acquaintance described him as a stomach with a head. He died in the Ile de France restaurant in Rome on the 18th of March 1965, collapsing at his dinner table following a characteristically heavy meal. While some claim he was poisoned by Egyptian intelligence, no official autopsy was conducted on his body. His will stipulated that he be buried in the Al-Rifa'i Mosque in Cairo, but the request was denied by the Egyptian government under Gamal Abdel Nasser, and he was buried in Italy. The funeral service held in Rome was attended by his mother, Nazli Sabri. King Faisal of Saudi Arabia stated he would be willing to have King Farouk buried in Saudi Arabia, upon which President Nasser said that the former monarch could be buried in Egypt, but not in Rifa'i Mosque. The body of King Farouk returned to Egypt on the 31st of March 1965 at night and was secretly buried in the Ibrahim Pasha burial site in Imam el-Shafi area. During Anwar el-Sadat's presidency, the remains were moved to Al-Rifa'i Mosque. Marriages and affairs. Farouk was married twice, with a claim of a third marriage. His first wife was Safanaz Zulfikar, the daughter of Yusuf Zulfikar Pasha. Safanaz was renamed Farida upon her marriage. They were married in January 1938 and divorced in 1948, producing 3 daughters. Farouk's second wife was a commoner, Nariman Sadek. They were married in 1951 and divorced in 1954, having only one child, the future King Fuad II. He also had many affairs, including one with British writer Barbara Skelton. While in exile in Italy, Farouk met Irma Capus Minutolo, an opera singer, who became his companion. In 2005, she claimed that she married the former king in 1957. Children hobbies. Coin collection. King Farouk amassed one of the most famous coin collections in history, which included an extremely rare American gold-minted 1933 double eagle coin, and 2 1913 Liberty Head nickels. Styled the ostentatious king's name is used to describe imitation Louis XV style furniture known as Louis Farouk. The imperial French-style furniture became fashionable among Egypt's upper classes during Farouk's reign, so Egyptian artisans began to mass-produce it. The style uses ornate carving, is heavily gilded, and is covered in elaborate cloth. The style, or imitations thereof, remains widespread in Egypt. Titles, styles and honors. Titles: the 11th of February 1920 to 15 March 1922. His Sultanic Highness Prince Farouk of Egypt. The 15th of March 1922 to 12 December 1933. His Royal Highness the Crowned Prince of Egypt. The 12th of December 1933 to 28 April 1936. His Royal Highness the Prince of the Said. The 28th of April 1936 to 16 October 1951, His Majesty the King of Egypt, Sovereign of Nubia, Sudan, Kordofan, and Darfur. The 16th of October 1951 to 26 July 1952, His Majesty the King of Egypt and the Sudan. The 26th of July 1952 to 18 March 1965, His Majesty the King Farouk of Egypt. Honors: National Dynastic Honors, House of Muhammad Ali, 3rd former Sovereign Knight, Grand Cross with Collar of the Royal Order of Muhammad Ali. House of Muhammad Ali, 1st former Sovereign and 1st Knight with Collar of the Royal Order of Fuad I. House of Muhammad Ali, 3rd former Sovereign Knight, Grand Cross of the Royal Order of Ismail I. House of Muhammad Ali, 3rd former Sovereign of the Royal Order of the Virtues. House of Muhammad Ali, 3rd former Sovereign Knight, Grand Cross of the Royal Order of the Nile. House of Muhammad Ali, 2nd former Sovereign of the Royal Order of Agriculture. House of Muhammad Ali, second foremost sovereign of the Royal Order of Culture. House of Muhammad Ali, second foremost sovereign of the Royal Order of Industry and Commerce. House of Muhammad Ali, third foremost sovereign of the Royal Decoration of the Military Star. Kingdom of Egypt, a former sovereign of the Medal for Bravery. Kingdom of Egypt, former sovereign of the Medal for Meritorious Acts. Kingdom of Egypt, a former sovereign of the Medal for Devotion of Duty. Kingdom of Egypt, former sovereign of the Medal for Benevolence. Kingdom of Egypt, a former sovereign of the Medal of Casualty. Kingdom of Egypt, former sovereign of the Palestine Medal. House of Muhammad Ali, a former sovereign of the Muhammad Ali Medal. Kingdom of Egypt, former sovereign of the Prince Kamal el-Din Hussein Medal. Kingdom of Egypt, a former sovereign of the King Farouk Inauguration Medal. Kingdom of Egypt, a former sovereign of the Royal Guard Commemorative Medal. Foreign Honours: France, Grand Cross of the Order of the Legion of Honor. Iran, Knight Grand Cordon with Collar of the Order of Pahlavi. Monaco, Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Charles. Spanish Royal Family, Knight Grand Cross with Collar of the Royal Order of Isabella the Catholic. In popular culture, Gore Vidal's 1953 pulp novel Thieves' Fallout is set against his overthrow. In 2007, the embassy aired an Egyptian television series titled Al-Malik Farouk about the life of King Farouk, and he was portrayed by Syrian actor Taim Hassan. Ancestry.